Fluent, period. What if I told you that 6 months from now, you could speak English smoothly, confidently, without freezing, without translating in your head? Sounds impossible? Or maybe you've tried before and failed. So let me ask you something. Is the problem really you, or is it the way you've been learning? Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, you're going to discover something most English learners never realize. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. And yes, it might change everything. First, let's break a myth. Fluent in 6 months. You've probably heard this before. Maybe you believed it. Maybe you didn't. But here's the truth. Yes, it is possible, but not in the way most people imagine. And that's where everything starts to shift. Let's begin with a simple question. What does fluent actually mean? Think about it. Most people believe fluency means perfection. Perfect grammar. Perfect pronunciation. Speaking like a native. But that idea? It's wrong. Completely wrong. Fluency is not perfection. Fluency is flow. Imagine water in a river. Does it stop every second? Does it hesitate? Does it say, maybe? It moves. Naturally. Smoothly. Effortlessly. That's fluency. And now think about your English. Do your words flow like water? Or do they come out broken, slow, interrupted? Because that is the real difference. Not your grammar, not your accent, but your flow. Let me show you something important. Two people, same vocabulary, same level, but one speaks like this, I think, yesterday I went to, and the other says, yesterday I went out, it was really nice. Who sounds fluent? Exactly. Fluency is not about knowing more. It's about using what you already know smoothly. Now here's another truth most people don't like to hear. You do not need a huge vocabulary to be fluent. Surprised? Good, because this is where things get interesting. For daily conversations, normal life, simple topics, you need around 3,000 words. That's it. Not 10,000, not 20,000, around 3,000. And even that, you don't need perfectly. So why do most learners still struggle? Why do they study for years and still can't speak? This is where the real problem appears. It's not about time. It's about hours. And more importantly, it's about how you use those hours. Let me explain. Imagine two learners. One studies English 1 hour per week. The other studies 5 hours per day. After 6 months, do you think they'll be at the same level? Of course not. So when people say 6 months, it's not about the calendar. It's about the total time you invest. And even more important, the quality of that time. Now pay attention, because this might be the most important part of this entire video. There are two things that decide your success in English: quantity and quality. Most people focus on the first. Almost nobody understands the second. Let's talk about quantity first. How many hours do you need? There's no perfect number, but a general idea: around 600 to 800 hours of real practice. Not passive, not distracted, real. Now here's the good news. You're not starting from zero. You've studied before. School, course, EPS. Even if it wasn't perfect, you already have a base. So maybe you don't need 800 hours. Maybe you need less. And that's powerful. But now, let's talk about what really changes everything. Quality. Because you can study for hours and still not improve. Sounds familiar? Let me show you why. Picture this. You're sitting at a desk, reading a textbook. Your eyes are open, but your mind? Half asleep. You repeat words. You memorize lists. But after a few days, everything disappears. Why? Because your brain wasn't truly engaged. That is low-quality learning. And most people live there. Now imagine something different. You're listening to English, but you're fully focused. Your attention is sharp. You understand most of it. Not everything, but enough. You feel something. Curiosity, excitement, maybe even fun. Your body is awake. Your mind is active. That is high-quality learning. Let me make this even clearer with a simple example. Imagine you want to learn one word, cuddle. You could open a dictionary, read the definition, repeat it 10 times. Boring, right? Now ask yourself honestly, will you remember it tomorrow? Maybe. Will you remember it next week? Probably not. Now imagine something else. You're with someone you really like. You feel comfortable, relaxed, happy. You hug each other. You stay close. warm. And in that moment, you hear the word cuddle, that feeling, that moment, that emotion. Do you think you'll forget that word? No chance, because emotion creates memory. And this is something schools completely ignore. Emotion, energy, focus. These are the real keys to learning faster. Not grammar rules, not boring exercises, but experience. And here's where things get serious. If you want to become fluent, you need to train differently. You need to think like a champion. Let me explain. Imagine English is not a subject, but a sport, and you're training for it. Now compare two people. One trains casually, a few times per week, sometimes focused, sometimes distracted. The other trains like a professional, every day, with intensity, with purpose, with discipline. Who improves faster? It's obvious. Champions don't just train more. They train better. They repeat more. They focus more. They care more. Every session matters. Every minute counts. And here's the question you need to ask yourself. How are you training your English? Like a hobby? Or like a mission? Because if you treat it like something casual, you'll get casual results. But if you treat it seriously, if you show up every day with energy, with focus, with intention, everything changes. And listen carefully, this is where most people quit. Not because they can't, but because they don't believe they can. They listen to others. 6 months? Impossible. You're too old. You're not good at languages. Have you heard this before? Of course you have. We all have. But here's something you need to understand. Those voices, they are not your truth. They are someone else's limitations. And if you accept them, they become yours. So let me ask you something. What if they're wrong? What if you actually can do it? What if 6 months from now, you're speaking English comfortably, confidently, without fear? Can you imagine that? Because here's the reality. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to sound native. You don't need to know everything. You just need to communicate, to express yourself, to connect. And once you reach that level, something incredible happens. Your confidence grows. Your fear disappears. And learning becomes easier, faster, more natural. Now, before we go deeper, let me ask you something. If you're still watching this, it means something inside you wants this. You want to speak English. You want that freedom. So don't ignore that feeling. Subscribe to Fluent, period. Because this channel is not about boring lessons. It's about transformation. And you don't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's go back. Because there's one more thing you need to understand. Consistency. You can study hard for one day and do nothing for the next 5. Will that work? No. Progress needs rhythm. Like a heartbeat. Regular. Constant. Alive. Even 1 hour per day. Done correctly. With focus. With energy. Can change your life in months. But random effort gives random results. So here's a simple formula. Clear. Powerful. Effective. High quantity. High quality. High consistency. That's it. Not complicated, but not easy either, because it requires discipline and honesty. And now I'll tell you something important. You will make mistakes, many of them, and that's okay. Actually, it's necessary. Mistakes are not failure. They are proof that you are trying, that you are moving, that you are learning. Fluent speakers make mistakes too. Even native speakers do. The difference? They don't stop. They keep going. They keep flowing. Like water. So, stop waiting to be perfect. Start speaking now. Even if it's not ideal. Even if it's uncomfortable. Because that discomfort, it's growth. Now imagine this. 6 months from today, you meet someone, and you speak. No fear. No hesitation. Words come out naturally. You understand. You respond. You connect. That version of you, it exists. But only if you start now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. So here's your challenge. From today, change the way you learn. Focus more. Feel more. Engage more. Train like it matters. Because it does. And remember, you're not weak. You're not incapable. You're not bad at English. You just haven't trained the right way yet. But now, you know. And once you know, you have a choice. Stay the same. Or transform. So choose wisely. Because 6 months will pass anyway. The only question is, who will you be when they do? A beginner, still stuck, still doubting, still waiting, or someone who speaks, flows, communicates, lies in a new language. The decision is yours. Fluent, confident, powerful. That's your future. And it starts today, right here, right now, on Fluent, period. See you in the next video.